solving linear equations in one variable. You can click the links in the description below to go to specific parts of the video, although I highly recommend watching every example as you may learn something from each one of them. The concept of interest is very important because it has a lot of practical uses in real life, from banking, loan payments, to computation of return of investment in businesses. Knowing how to compute interests is critical. Let us look at a common application of interest, and something that I hope is a little more familiar to you. Have you ever wondered why in a bank book, if you have seen one, the amount of money indicated is almost always not exact? Even if you did not deposit 37 centavos, you might find an extra 37 cents there. Or even if you did not withdraw 63 centavos, you might find out that your money in the bank is 63 cents shy of an exact value. Most often than not, this may be attributed to interest, an amount you earn by depositing money in the bank. Yep, that deposit in your bank can earn money. This is because there are types of bank accounts that give permission to the bank to use your money that you deposited in businesses of their choice. That will earn more money. The bank then gives back a certain percentage of these earnings to you. So, aside from keeping your money safe, banks can also grow your money. Not so much though, just a small and often inexact percentage. Hence, that extra 37 centavos you might see there, if you know what I mean. Let us show an example how we compute bank interests. Let us say you have a time deposit in a bank worth 100,000 pesos. You agree that you will not withdraw that amount for 1 year so that the bank can make use of that amount. How much interest would it have after a year if the interest rate is 5% annually? Now, the general formula to solve this is I is equal to PRT, where I is the interest or earnings. Yan yung kita ng pera na i-deposit natin. Now, P is the principal amount or the amount you deposited, which you are expecting to earn money. So basically, ito yung pera nakikita. R is the rate per year or annual rate, and this is in percentage. And the last variable is T, the time. Usually, it's in years. And usually, 1 year lang yan. So going back to our problem, we can better solve this if we organize it using a table. We have the principal amount or deposit at 100,000. The annual rate or rate per year is 5%. And the time is 1 year. Now, to compute the interest or earnings after a year, we simply multiply P, R, and T. Thus, the time deposit will earn 5,000 pesos. Now, just in case you would be asked, how much total money would you have after a year? Syempre, you get that by simply adding the computed interest to the principal. Hence, after a year, you will have a total of 100,000. Yun yung pera mo nung una. Plus yung kinita na 5,000, edi 105,000 total in your bank account. Now, as we discussed earlier, interest can also be applied in businesses. Let's have another example to this application. Let's say you have invested 200,000 pesos for a food cart business, expecting an annual interest rate of 15%. How much would you earn after a year? Again, we identify the data, organize them in a table, and use our formula I is equal to PRT. Be careful here. This is actually yung pinaka-challenging na part ng problem solving in simple interest. It's identifying the given. Minsan nakakalito. So, read and reread what IPRT could be. Now, 200,000 pesos is the amount which we are expecting to earn more money. Thus, it is our principal, pera na inilabas mo para kumita pa. 15% is obviously the annual rate of interest because of the clue percent. And finally, 1 year is obviously the time. So to get the earnings or interest, they're the same, we substitute the values of P, R, and T in the same formula. Multiplying the three given values, you should expect an interest or earnings of 30,000 pesos after a year. This means yung 200,000 pesos na pinangbili mo ng food cart business, kikita ng 30,000 pesos after 1 year. I hope you got the concepts. Multiple investment problems is probably one of the longest problems that you will ever see. Now, that means it's very important that you read problems carefully, make sure that you identify each given, and be careful, of course. Let's read and solve example number 3. After graduating from Pisay, Regil was able to save a good amount of money from her monthly stipends. She invested some of her savings at Guapa Stocks Enterprise. That's the first investment. It's at 12% per annum. And the same amount of money, so same lang ang pinunta niya sa Guapa Stocks Enterprise, and sa second, at Mabuot Stocks Enterprise at 9% per annum. So take note, there are two investments, GSE and MSE. One is at 12%, the other is at 9% per annum. Now, each year, the total interest, yung total nakita from both enterprises is 3,570. How much savings did Regil have once she graduated? Okay, let's solve this problem by using our 5 steps. GRESA, given, representation, equation, solve, and answer. So, let's plug in values first in this table. Investment. Take note, there are two investments here. We have the GSE, let's indicate that, and the MSE. Of course, we know the values kagad pwede nating ipasok. At GSE, we have 12% per annum. So it's 0.12. That should be easy, just be careful. Next, at MSE, which is 9% per annum. So it's 0.09 at MSE. Of course, per annum yan. So the time is both 1 year. Now, the very important principle. Sinabi ba kung magkano ang pinasok niya sa GSE and sa MSE? It's not given. Sabi lang, she invested some of her savings at GSE. Now, why not try to let that be X? X be the principal at GSE. Because we're looking for that, let's place that here. X. Now, how about yung principal amount or doon sa pinasok niya sa MSE? Does it say? According to this, it's the same amount of money. Now that will be good because if this were X, yung ipinasok niya sa MSE would also be the same value represented by X. So, let this also be X. So, pareho lang pala, represented by X. After this, this should be automatic. To get the interest, we simply multiply P, R, and T, the 3 columns here, as indicated by our formula, I is equal to PRT. Now, ang gagawin natin then is write P is X, rate is 0.12, and the time, of course, is 1. So, simplifying this, it's 0.12x. That represents the interest for GSE. Now, how about the MSE? So, we simply multiply X times 0.09 times 1. So, this is represented by 0.09x. So, table done. Representation also done. The very important equation this time. We know that we need to have an equation involving the total interest or I sub T. Now, to get the total kita from both, already interest from GSE, that's the first investment, idadagdag natin yung kita or interest from MSE. Okay, now substituting, are we given the total interest? Meron. Ang total na kinita niya from both is 3,570. So substituting, the total interest should be 3,570. Now, substituting, ano yung kita niya sa GSE? This cell. So, substituting, we have 0.12x. Plus, magkano yung kita niya sa MSE? This one. So, substituting, it's 0.09x. Now, that means this is our working equation. Ito yung kailangan nating isolve, which is the fourth step in problem solving. So, doing that, let me combine the right side. We have 3,570 is equal to 0.12 plus 0.09 is 0.21x. Of course, we don't want 0.21 here. What connects 0.21 and x? It's multiplication. To counteract multiplication, let's divide 0.21 divided by 0.21. Of course, we can cancel this and we're able to isolate x, and it's equal to, do your math, kayang-kaya yan, it's 17,000. Now, what is the answer? Don't get too excited. Baka ang sagot mo kaagad is X 17,000 pesos. No. As you can see, ang tanong is, how much total savings did Regil have? Bakit sir sinabi mong total? Wala naman nakalagay na total. Take note, ito pong kanyang savings, it's the total of these two principal amounts. So it's X plus X. Now, if this were 17,000 pesos, and this is also 17,000 pesos, that means the total is 34,000 pesos. So let me write here, X plus X, which is the total investment, is equal to 34,000 pesos. Don't forget the units. That's very important. That is our answer. Now, however, meron pa tayong kailangang gawin. Let's check. Tama ba yung sagot natin? Now, to be able to do that, let's compute. Tama ba na ang kinita niya is 3,570 for each, for both? Now, doing that, substitute 0.12 times 17,000. Magkano ang kinita niya for GSE for 1 year? Multiplying, it's equal to 2,040. Now, magkano ang kinita niya dun sa MSE? So, it's 0.09 times the principal there, 17,000, is equal to 1,530. Do the math. Now, if we add them, it's equal to 3,570, which is equal to the total interest given. Our answer must be correct. Let's read and solve example number 4. Please follow. During her 18th birthday, Marian received cash gifts from her parents. She invested the money that she received from her mother. That's the first investment. It's at 8%. And the money that she received from her father at 6%. So 2 investments, one from her mother and one from her father. Now, her father gave her 2,500 more than her mother. Nako, ibig sabihin, mas marami ang binigay ni father. Now, if the total interest, yung total na kinita from both investments after a year is 1,830, how much did Marian receive from her father during her birthday? Now, kailangan i-plug in muna natin yung value sa table so that we can better understand. So, we know, of course, that we have 2 investments, money from her mother and money from her father. Now, plug-in values na alam natin, madaling ipasok. So, from her mother, the interest rate is 8%. So, ilalagay natin dito, 0.08. Next, how about from her father? Ang rate is 6%. So, 0.06. Of course, both are invested for 1 year. Nakalagay sa ating problem. Now, the very important principle, binigay ba kung magkano ang binigay ni mother and the father? No. However, they were compared. According to this, her father gave her 2,500 more than her mother. Now, this means yung mas magandang i-represent as X would be yung smaller. Maalala nyo yung mga previous examples natin? Now, smaller obviously yung money from her mother. So, let's represent the principal from her mother as X. Now, of course, we also want to represent yung principal sa kanyang father. So, principal from her father which is 2,500 more than her mother. That means mas marami ang binigay ng kanyang father. It's X plus 2,500 more. That should represent the principal from her father. So let me write that. X plus 2,500. So the columns are complete. We can now multiply these three to get the interest. Doing that, so we now have X times 0.08 times 1. Of course, we can simplify this as 0.08x. Now, how about yung ating interest from her father? So we have this quantity, X plus 2,500. Let me write that. X plus 2,500. That's the principal from her father times the rate and time. So let me just copy the rate. It's 0.06. And of course, the time is 1. Now, let's simplify that in a while. Now, the very important equation we know is yung total na kinita, total interest, should be total na kita from her mother plus yung kinita from the money na binigay ng kanyang father. So, let's simply add that. Don't ever forget that formula. Substituting, do we know the total kita? Of course. It's 1,830. As indicated here, it's the total interest, total kita. So substituting, it's 1,830. Now, substituting also the interest from her mother, it's this value. So we have 0.08x. Done. Plus, yung kita from her father, it's this value. Now, let me just copy. Medyo marami. X plus 2,500 times 0.06 times 1. Now, this is our working equation. The equation that we need to solve para makuha natin yung hinahanap. Simplifying the right side, let me copy. 1,830 is equal to 0.08x. So, multiplying, we have to distribute 0.06 to x and 0.06 to 25 because 1 is just 1. So forget about that. So we have 0.06x plus, what is 0.06 times 2,500? It's 150. Okay, combining like terms, this one and this one. We now have 1,830 is equal to 0.14x. Don't forget to be careful with your decimal. Plus 150. Now, transposing, we have 1,830 on the left minus transpose this 150 is 1,680. And it's equal to 0.14x. Of course, we can solve it here. We now have x, finally, it's 1,680 divided by 0.14, it's 12,000. Okay, be careful. Yan na ba yung sagot? Ano ba yung hinahanap? How much did Marian receive from her father during her birthday? Is X or does X represent yung binigay ng father niya? No, it's X plus 2,500. Buti na lang we represented it. So, solving or substituting, we have 12,000 plus 2,500. The total then is 14,500. So the final answer, the principal from her father is equal to how much? 14,500 pesos. This should be the answer. Okay, however, we always check kung tama yung sagot natin. Now, how do we check? Substitute the values na binigay sa atin. So, if we know that X is 12,000, solving for the interest ng pera na binigay ng kanyang mom, it's 0.08 times 12,000, it's 960. Do the math. And then, sa kanyang father, it's 14,500, this one, times 0.06, it's 870. If we add these dalawang kita, the total, it's 1,830, which is what we're given na total kita. Our answer must be correct. Final answer, 14,500 is the money that Marian received from her father during her birthday. Let's answer example number 5. Your Mathematics 1 teacher is planning to invest a part of 100,000 pesos, a part of this, in Business A that offers 10% annual simple interest, and the remainder in Business B, which has a 7.5% interest rate per year. So we have two investments here. We have Business A at 10% and Business B at 7.5%. So in the get-go, dapat alam na natin yung mga yan. Now, if your teacher aims to earn an interest, that's the total of course from both investments, of 9,325 pesos, how much should your teacher invest in Business A? Okay, let's plug in values kaagad sa ating table para mas madali nating masolve. We have investment, dalawa yan. We have investment A and investment B. Now, next, the rate is 10% or 0.1 or 0.10 doesn't matter for investment A, as you can see here. And investment B is 7.5%. Be careful here. It's 0.075. That's 7.5%. Of course, it's usually 1 year. Now, the very important principal amount. Pinigay ba kung magkano ang pinunta sa Business A and Business B? Hindi po. But take note, we have a clue. Ang sabi dito, to invest a part of 100,000. So, that means some parts of the 100,000 pinunta sa A, yung ibang parts, remaining part actually, pinunta sa Business B. Basta we know that their total is 100,000. Now, how do we solve this then? Why not try to let X be the principal in Business A? Total, yan yung hinahanap. Let X be the principal for Business A. Now, if we know that the total of this and this is 100,000 and ito is X, how do we represent yung second principal? Easy. Take note, it's the total minus one part is the other part. So, we have 100,000 yung total nila. Ima-minus mo yung napunta sa A o edi makukuha mo yung natira remaining para sa B is 100,000 minus X. That would be the principal for Business B. So, principal for Business B, yung natira galing sa 100,000 pesos. It's 100,000 minus X. So, the first three columns done. Very easy to get the interest. The last column, we simply multiply PRT. So, X times 0.10 times 1. Of course, we can simplify this as 0.1 or 0.10x. Ito medyo mahaba. So, the principal for Business B is 100,000 minus X times 0.075 and then, of course, times 1. Now, we'll simplify that in a while. We know that the equation is I total. The total kita is kita galing kay A plus kita galing kay B. Now, do we know the total kita? Yes, of course. It's 9,325. It's the interest for both. So, we have substitute 9,325. Magkano naman ang kita sa Business A? It's 0.1x. Substitute this one. Now, magkano naman yung kita sa Business B? Naku, medyo mahaba. Let me write 100,000 minus X. Of course, we can remove this one here times 0.075. Now, this is our working equation. That means we have to solve it. Simplify by distributing 0.075. So, we now have 9,325 is equal to 0.1x plus what's 100,000 times 0.075? Now, that will be very easy. It's 7,500. Buti na lang, sakto, 100,000. Minus 0.075x. Of course, we distribute that part. Simplifying further, we have 9,325. Combining 0.1 minus 0.075x is equal to 0.025. 0.025 x plus 7,500. Now transpose 7,500 from the right to the left. We now have 9,325 minus 7,500 is 1,825. And it's equal to 0.025x. Nako, be careful here. Ano ang value ng x? Divide both sides by 0.025 divided by 0.025. It's equal to 73,000 pesos. Okay, now, what are we looking for? How much should your teacher invest in Business A? Business A is represented by X. Buti na lang sakto. Yan na yung sagot. It's the principal of A. It's equal to X. And it's 73,000 pesos. That's the answer. Now, of course, we can always check. Let's look at the interest sa bawat isa. So, substituting, we have 0.1. Ano yung X natin? 73,000. To get that, it's 0.1 times 73,000. It's 7,300 kita from Business A. Easy. Now, how about sa Business B? So, kung 73,000 yung nasa A, this one, 73,000. 100,000 minus 73,000 is 27,000. 27,000, ito po yun. Let me write. 27,000 times 0.075 is equal to 2,025. That's why when you get their total, it's 9,325, which is equal to the total interest from these both investments. Therefore, our answer must be correct. The principal for A is 73,000 pesos.